All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I accidentally created a new chat when I relaunched this. So I saw people were putting in, somehow I was able to join as a guest or something. So I saw people were responding in the chat with where they're coming from. So again, thanks for getting the chat going, and welcome everyone who has joined and who has stayed for 10 whole minutes. So I'm going to jump right into it. So we're going to be talking today about how to grow your membership efforts and also how to create some non-dues revenue, if that's something that you are looking to do. I'm Isa Hasty. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Feathr. And real quick, I'm going to launch a poll just to see if anyone would like to be subscribed to our weekly association newsletter. So this is actually a new one. We've been running one for a while for nonprofits, but we wanted to just get more specific and actually create one specifically for associations. So let me go ahead and launch that. Put a yes if you'd like me to just sign you up, and you'll start receiving them next Wednesday morning. If you're already subscribed, go ahead and throw that in there. But yeah, excited to get more people on board with that. And that goes out at 8:15 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. So lots of helpful resources, tips and tricks, industry news, things like that. So I think it's a really helpful resource each week. Alrighty, let's see, lots of yeses. Great. We'll get you signed up. You don't have to do anything, and you'll start getting that in your inbox. Okay. And then quick agenda. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the changing landscape for associations. Obviously, the landscape is changing for all kinds of organizations, whether you're a nonprofit, member-based organization like an association. Things are just changing in terms of people's attention spans, where people are spending their time online, where you need to be reaching people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Smarter ways to think about digital growth. So what that can look like for associations. I'm going to run a few more polls to kind of get a gauge of the audience in terms of what you guys are already doing in digital, sort of how savvy you are in terms of running digital ad campaigns. If you feel like you're just getting started or don't know where to begin, hopefully this webinar will provide some value for everyone under that umbrella. Campaigns that drive membership and revenue specifically. So I'm going to be talking about some very specific campaign types that you can run to get in front of different groups of people. And I'll show some examples of what those campaigns can look like from Feathr users who've run them successfully. And then we will be talking about that digital sponsorship revenue opportunity to get that non-dues revenue. So one more poll, really heavy on the polls. What are you currently focused on? So I'm going to launch this one. Oh, hold on one sec. This is the least tech-friendly or tech-forward webinar I've ever done, of course. Okay, I'm ending that one. All right. Alrighty. So go ahead and drop some answers here. Thanks, Pamela. Yeah, I wanted to just provide some go-to answers, but feel free to drop anything else in the chat that you're working on that I didn't account for in these answers. But definitely want to get a read of the crowd and see what everyone's focused on. Obviously, you can put multiple answers. Growing membership is by far the most important priority I'm seeing. I'll share these in just a second. Yeah, non-dues revenue and increasing event attendance are also close behind. Yes, improving data and reporting, that's a big one. I think one of the big challenges these days is being able to prove the ROI of anything and everything that you're doing, and getting the budget and the funding you need to keep investing in tools and keep getting the results that you're getting. And you can only do that if you're actually proving that things are working. So that is a big challenge. And then, having the right reporting tools in place is the way to address that. Expanding into new markets. Okay, interesting. All right, I'm going to end this and share the results so everyone can kind of see. But yeah, most people are focusing on growing membership. A lot of people are focusing on these two things. So obviously growing that non-dues revenue, I think often gets maybe a little bit back burner just because you're focusing so much on your bread and butter, getting your members engaged, keeping them engaged, getting those renewals, getting in front of new members. And so to me, growing membership kind of encompasses both existing member engagement and renewals, plus getting in front of new members to grow overall membership. But yeah, I think the non-dues revenue can be a key part of driving revenue for your organization outside of what you're already doing. And event attendance, obviously, this is one of the key ways that we drive revenue and keep members and non-members alike engaged. Okay, thanks for answering that for me. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges and kind of the landscape that you're operating in. So associations are being asked to do more with less. This is a pretty common occurrence across multiple industries these days. None of this is, a surprise to anyone here because outreach simply is harder these days. Attention's fragmented, teams are stretched. A lot of you might be working on a very small marketing team or outreach or comms team, small membership team. You might be the only person, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting your attention where it's going to be most valuable and then finding ways to automate things in the background and set up tools that can help support your efforts so you can focus on that strategic work that you're best at. Band of one, yep, we hear that all the time. So you're in good company. And so, yeah, just some of the common, challenges and barriers that associations are facing these days. You're trying to grow membership, you're trying to improve renewals and retention, increase event attendance, all of these things that we just said in the poll, right? That you're all focused on, diversifying revenue beyond just dues and proving values to your sponsors, to your executive leadership, to your board. And I think one of the biggest hurdles is that you're often doing all of this using outdated, disconnected legacy systems. So put a one if that applies to you. But I feel like almost every association I talk to is dealing with at least one system that it does not integrate well with other systems. It's just clunky to use. The email builder is outdated. So yeah, drop a yes or a one if that resonates. And part of our goal at Feathr, we are a digital advertising and communications platform. We're specifically designed to help associations and nonprofits. And we've added tools over the years to kind of help solve a lot of these challenges. We started with digital ads and sponsored retargeting, which is something that I'm going to talk about at the end, that non-dues revenue stream. But we added on an email builder a few years ago because we kept hearing that associations are just dealing with, they have data in their CRM and then they have their email builder over here. And then maybe they're running some digital ads natively in Google or Meta or something like that. But everything is just so disconnected that it's really hard to provide good or accurate reporting to leadership. It's hard for you yourself even to really know what's working and what's not. And so we try to account for all of that in the platform. And so it's not just digital ads, it's email marketing, social media. So all kinds of things that you are doing in different places, we try to make that as easy as possible to do in one place. And reporting, right? Being able to track conversions and report on that with accuracy and detail. And absolutely, Chuck, built by engineers and not UI people for sure. It's like they probably weren't even tested very much back in the day, and they absolutely have not had quality control come back in and test the UI and the UX. So yeah, definitely, and expensive as well, Diane. Yep. So these are, I think, some of the big challenges that tools like Feathr and other tools can help fix. They just make everything easier to run, more user friendly, and everything's in one place. So kind of speaking the same language from campaign to campaign. So, like I've just kind of talked about, digital can power a lot of this and help solve for a lot of these problems. So, with one connected digital strategy, right? So, you're not across various disparate platforms, you're doing one strategy, you're operating out of one or just few platforms, and you have a cohesive strategy across channels. This is the goal. And this can help you attract new members, right? Putting ads and putting comms in front of the right people, relevant people, where they're spending time online, where they're spending time out in the world, right? You can actually do this with geofiltering, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Staying visible to existing members. So just because someone has been a member for 3 years is not a guarantee that they're going to renew their membership this year. So how are you engaging current members to make sure that they don't lapse? And then driving registrations and course enrollments, right? Event ticket sales, all of these things where there's a ticket item or a ticket price kind of associated with it. How are you driving revenue from those efforts? How are you making people aware that you have certifications and things available through your organization that can help them get credentials that they need for their work or the industry that they're in, right? So digital ads are a great way to put this messaging out into the world, surround potential members, existing members with reminders of these things, reasons to engage with your organization, and obviously supplementing with email. Email works great, but you want to make sure that's not the only place you're reaching people, because inbox fatigue is real, inbox overload is real. So there's no guarantee that every person you're emailing is opening every email you send them. So you have to reach them outside of the inbox as well. So let's think about digital growth and what that can look like specifically for associations. So, how people join associations typically is something that happens over time. Membership decisions don't happen instantly, right? This is a gradual decision. So, somebody might discover an industry issue that they need support around or resources around. Maybe it's a professional requirement, but that still doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to join your association, or it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to join an association at all, right? Especially with younger generations, that's becoming more challenging to get in front of younger people and convince them of the value of joining your association. A lot of them will do research online. Maybe they'll visit your association's webpage, browse around, visit a few different pages, but they will most likely leave without converting the first time. So you want to make sure that you're really getting back in front of those people, staying in front of them, saying, hey, we know that you're interested, come back, complete your registration. So just driving people back to your website based on their behavior is key. All right. And website is what everything comes back to. You are trying to drive net new people who've never heard of you to your website to learn more. If people leave your website, you want them to come back. Existing members who know about your website, you want them to come to it more, right? Whether it's because, the login, like a lot of you might have the login portal on your website, which might be a reason that a lot of association members come to your website regularly. They also might not come regularly and log in, right? So getting people to come to your website on a regular basis and kind of feel that it's this forum for whatever questions and needs and resources they're looking for. This is the goal. So want to run another. I think this is the last for a while, and I've got one more at the end, but I went a little crazy with the polls here. Okay. Tell me, if you could tell me right now exact conversion rates for key pages on your website. Ooh, this is a little unexpected. I thought we might have more in the middle. Okay, that one's growing a lot. I'm getting a lot of no idea. I'll share this in a second, but very few yeses. And again, I talk to nonprofits, 501c3s a lot, and a lot of them are operating with much lower budgets, smaller teams, like they're even more spread more thinly. And so I think I often feel like I'll see a little bit more of like, oh yeah, we have access to these numbers, we have visibility into these things with associations, but obviously you guys are operating under really similar, I think, conditions in terms of just not having enough time. Yeah, Dave, so much data, so little time. Where do you start? Okay. So you can see two people said they have exact numbers. Shout out to you two. A lot of people said no idea. And then some people said they could give a rough estimate. So that's better than nothing. But yeah, this is really helpful for me to just kind of know that this is where we're at. Okay. So the reality of your website, one sort of cool thing about associations is that you do have this audience of people who need your organization, right? Whether it's because you're fulfilling an actual requirement for them to be a member through their workplace or an academic institution or whatever they're operating in, or because they're looking for webinars, for certifications, for resources from you, right? So you have a lot of people who, it's not like, selling shoes or trying to get people to donate to a cause where you're kind of putting feelers out to relevant people, but hoping that they will pull their wallet out because they feel like it or because they feel compelled. Whereas you do have a more niche audience, you know what space you're in, what industry you're in, who you're targeting. So I do think associations have this advantage, right? And so as a result, you actually can see higher conversion rates on some pages on your website compared to other types of organizations. And so I found this stat, which actually I thought was really amazing. So for some high intent actions like membership renewals, right, on your website, you can actually see conversion rates ranging around 85% for existing members, right? I think 100% feels a little lofty. Like you're never going to get 100% conversion rates. It's rare. But these conversion rates are going to be much higher than the conversion rate from somebody landing on your homepage for the first time and then converting to become a member. That is going to be a much lower conversion rate. That's because you're getting in front of new people. They've never heard about you. They're coming to your website for the first time, maybe even the third time, but they are not convinced yet. And so you're dealing with lots of very different audience segments. So you have people who've never heard of you before at all, right? So people you want to get in front of for the first time, people who you've gotten in front of, or they've heard about you from a peer or something, and they've maybe been to your website or seen some of your ads on Facebook when they're browsing, but they have not joined. You have your existing members who may or may not renew, right? Um, and then depending on whether you have events that are specific to members or if they're open to anyone, you might have event attendees from the past who disengaged, things like that. So you probably are operating with a lot of different lists. Your CRM is probably full of all these different segments, or maybe it's, just lots of names and you don't have them segmented out. But it's important to think about your audience in this way and think, okay, like, what is this audience segment looking for from me, and how can I put that in front of them in the most efficient way and the most kind of consistent way so they're sure to see it. Um, and then, yeah. So retargeting is one of the ways that you can do this. So we're going to get in just a minute. We're going to get into some awareness campaigns. So just for those people who've never heard of you, how to get in front of them, how to bring them to your website. But retargeting specifically is the process of getting back in front of people who've been to your website and have left. So this could look like somebody who came from one of your awareness ads on Instagram for the first time ever, clicked to your homepage, then maybe visited your membership page, scrolled around, and left. You want to get back in front of that person. You want to get in front of them with ads that offer some information about member benefits. For example, these. So these are from ASCRS. This is an organization that Feathr works with. And these are some examples of ads that you might show to somebody who is new and who has maybe explored some of the pages on your website, but isn't necessarily a high intent audience member yet, right? They haven't been to your membership sign up page. They haven't been to your membership page multiple times, right? They've just explored a little bit and then abandoned the website. So you want to get ads in front of them with the goal of bringing them back. And so people aren't going to click necessarily on the first ad impression. That's the way ads work. So you're trying to show up in all of those little banner spots that automatically populate when you land on a page. So whether you're on social media, maybe you're looking up recipes, you're reading the news, you're playing a game on a phone app, right? So all of these places, we're used to seeing these banner ads that show up on the top, on the side. And the goal is to have your organization bid for those spots and show up in those spots for people who are relevant to you. And so these banner ads that I'm talking about, this is the kind of ad that we're talking about when we're looking at retargeting and when we're looking at a lot of these awareness campaigns that I'm going to talk about in a minute. And so someone, comes to your website, leaves the website, sees ads across websites and apps where they're already spending their time. So you want to be reaching people where they are. People aren't going to be coming to you. You have to meet them where they're at. And then hopefully they will return later, feel more compelled, feel more persuaded by the value, and then join, sign up for your event, sign up for a course or a credential or something like that. And then you have a lot of things that you can promote as well. So this is another really cool. So not only is your audience niche and a little bit more well-defined than a lot of the audiences that organizations are working with, but you also have a lot that you can offer. And so you are offering membership, right? Membership benefits, whatever that looks like for you. You have events that you host where members and non-members can come and get tons of insight, information, hear expertise from industry leaders, right? And so these are really, really powerful assets that you can promote to people and say, hey, we specifically offer this very unique value in the space. Come to our event, buy a ticket. Certifications, courses, all of these things, publications, webinars are another big one that I see a lot. We have a lot of customers, Feathr users that promote webinars using Feathr, and they just put ads out there reminding their members to sign up for webinars and tune into those on a monthly basis. So that is another great use case. And also, of course, you can promote to your sponsors. You can offer access to your audience, which we're going to get into. in a few minutes. So let's get into some specific campaign types and how they work and what results can look like. So, talking about finding members where they are. So, this could be people who've never been to your website, people who've never heard of you, so potential members, or this could be existing members and finding them where they're spending time. So, we call this type of campaign geofencing. And basically, what you're doing is you're serving ads to people who were in a physical location in the world. And so this could be a training facility, this could be a competing event or an industry event, right? So people who were in that physical location, you can run a campaign to serve ads to those people on their mobile devices because they were there. And so this is really powerful because you can get very specific with what group of people you're targeting. If you are trying to get people in your industry to come to your event, and there's another event in your industry that's being hosted a couple months before your event, you can geofence that event venue, serve ads to those people, and you presumably they're going to be interested in your event. So this is a really, really great way to get in front of new people. You might have some overlap. There might be people who are members already who, have been to your events before, who are attending that event too. Doesn't hurt to get in front of them. But the idea here is that you are getting in front of a large prospective audience of new people. Diane, so yeah, I mean, you can geofence. Oh, sorry, scroll up. Yeah, I saw your comment. I think it might be in the question section. But yes, you can get super specific with location. So you could geofence. Okay, your comment disappeared and reappeared. I don't know if that happened for everyone else, but you can geofence specific buildings. You can geofence political, buildings, congressional area, like in DC. If you want to get really honed in on a specific geographical area of a few blocks, you can do that. So you absolutely can. Oh, I see that you edited the comment. That's why it disappeared. I was like, oh my God, am I going crazy today? Okay. So yeah, you can pick specific brick and mortar locations basically and get in front of people. No, you're fine. I'm having so many tech issues that I'm just like assuming everything is happening on my end today. Okay, so in terms of geofencing, I wanted to show an example of an organization that ran some geofencing campaigns. So this is the Restaurant Association of Maryland. They're a wonderful Feathr user. We've done a case study with them. So actually visit, I'm going to type it in here real quick, feathr.co/case studies. If you would like to take a look at some of the customer success stories that we have on there and just get some more in-depth sort of glimpses into what these campaigns can look like in the real world for organizations like yours. So Restaurant Association of Maryland they run tons of campaigns to get people to come to their events, to become members. Obviously, this is just the results from one geofencing campaign that they ran, and they got in front of 49,170 people, and they actually had 515 unique clicks to their website. So from all of these from all of these people that they reached, they actually got 515 new people to click on one of the ads, come to their site to learn more, potentially to attend an event, become a member, things like that. And then one sec. So for this example, they were actually, I have another example from them later. All right. So you can also reach people based on who they are, right? So we just talked about getting to people based on where they are, where they're spending their time. You can also target people based on demographic information, like age, gender, education level, income bracket, things like this. You can get in front of people based on their online purchase history, affinities, values, behaviors online, things like this. So you can get very, very specific. Again, this is available as a campaign type in Feathr, and you can get really, really layered in terms of creating a niche audience. This can be very broad. Obviously, we're dealing with millions of potential people here. And so one of the goals when you're running a campaign like this is to stack as many filters as possible without getting too specific, but you want to really narrow it down to be, I'm trying to reach people who are in my industry doing the things that I'm trying to help people in this industry do, and who would likely be looking for an organization like mine. So that can look like different things for different organizations, but just a few different examples here. And like I said, you can get even more drilled down than this, but you might be an organization an association for pediatricians, for example. You might be looking for doctors on the younger side in California. So you can actually do all of this, and you can add geo filters onto your affinity campaigns in order to make them more targeted so that you're spending as much budget as possible on the actual area where you're trying to reach people. So, and sometimes you might want to be reaching people, across the country, across the state, but sometimes you might want to get even more specific than that, like your town, your city, things like that. And then, oh my gosh, sorry. Another example is people who attend multiple industry events in your space and are interested in climate change. So this would be if you are in the industry of climate change or environmental issues, right? You can kind of determine that people have certain interests or affinities based on all of this data, this third-party data that is available to you in platforms like Feathr. So you can say, okay, I want people who fit this profile and these other things, and I want to put these awareness ads in front of those people and try to get them to come to my website. Once they do, you cookie them, then you can start serving them more personalized ads based on what they did. So if they come to your website and they actually visit your event page, then you continue to serve them retargeting ads about your event. If they come to your website and they visit your membership page, you can serve them ads about becoming a member. So this is where you start to get really segmented and targeted based on that website data that you're gathering from tracking the activity on your website. So when I asked earlier who's tracking conversion rates, really this comes down to, do you have tracking pixels installed on all of those important pages on your website so that you can see the activity that's happening, so that you can continue to reach people after they left? And this is anonymous, right? This is a privacy safe kind of targeting where you don't necessarily know who people are. If they're a member, or you already have their email address, or they've consented to give you their information and engage, you can see who they are in the platform. But if they are just an anonymous visitor, they stay anonymous in Feathr, and you can continue to serve them ads based on what they did. And then let's see. Can you also load existing quiet contacts to your audience? Yes. So if you're talking about like people in your CRM who maybe haven't visited your website in a while, but you have their email address because they maybe were a member a few years ago or attended an event, if that's what you mean, there are things you can do with this. So you probably sometimes maybe you send them re-engagement emails, things like that, but you can actually serve them ads as well because you have their email address. I'm going to get into that in just a second, but yes, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so this is another example from an association that Feathr works with. So they were hosting their annual event, and they run affinity campaigns as well. So they do a lot of affinity targeting, geofencing, retargeting, all of this. So I just wanted to show an example of some of the results that they got. So this is the Society of American Military Engineers, and they were able to sell $143,000 in ticket sales for one of their big events a couple of years ago. And this was 235 registrations on top of the registrations that they were getting through other channels, right? So and then just I included some quotes on these because I think these are really just insightful little tidbits from all of these users. So Frankie, who's the senior manager of marketing at SAME, she said, or SAME, she said, these digital ads keep the event top of mind because people are constantly seeing our branding. And if you're at a particular website and you still haven't registered, the ads just sort of magically appear as a nice subtle reminder. So it isn't magic, it's just good marketing and having the right tools in place, but it does feel like magic. And I've heard that word a lot from Feathr users, where they're like, it just feels like magic, because they know that they're setting up the campaigns and that they're running in the background. But when they see those people coming in from those campaigns, it just feels like, okay, cool, we're showing up in this very personalized way. We're inserting our messaging and our mission into the online journeys of all of these individual users. And that is a very cool experience, I think, once you start seeing the results from it. Okay, Jean, no worries. And then, Search terms. So this is called search retargeting. A lot of you probably have heard of Google Ads. A lot of you might be running Google Ads. So the goal of that is to bid for keywords and show up as the top search result on the search page, right? So somebody is looking for industry credentials and courses in whatever industry they're in. With Google Ads, you're trying to get your association or whatever page you're trying to link to be at the top of that search results page. You may or may not actually be able to get this spot. You know, that's a competitive kind of space to be in. But what you can do in addition to running Google ad campaigns is continue to serve ads to people who searched for those terms. So if somebody is searching for events this year in my industry or training for professionals in certain topic area, right? Any of these examples and more, anything that you could think of that people might be searching for, that your organization could solve a problem for, any of these terms, when people search for them, you can show up with those display ads like we've been talking about. So hopefully you will show up sometimes as a sponsored result on the Google page, but then after they leave the page, you want to continue showing up, right? You don't want to let the ball drop there, because if you didn't show up, then that's a bummer. And even if you did and they clicked on your website on the Google page, they may or may not actually convert. So you want to continue showing up with ads, reminding them of your value. And these are just some examples of keyword phrases that you might want to target. And if you are running Google Ads, there's a lot of overlap there, right? You might even pull a really similar list to what you're using for Google Ads and use that for search retargeting and just stay in front of those people based on what they're searching for. And then this YMCA, so this is the local YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth. They run a lot of different campaigns in Feathr as well. And I really love this example. So we have a case study from them as well. If you go to our case studies page, they were running a campaign to get parents to engage with their after school program for kids. And what they did was they actually were testing different language on ads. They actually didn't go into it with the testing mindset. They were running ads that offered childcare, and then they were also running some ads that offered after school. And what they found was that they were pulling in the wrong audience when they used the word childcare. They were pulling in an audience of parents of really young kids, infants, and toddlers. And really what they were offering was after school care for older kids, right? 7, 8, 9. And so they decided that for this campaign, it didn't make sense to use the word childcare in their ads because it simply was pulling in the wrong audience, and that was a bad use of their ad budget, right? And so they switched the messaging to be after school or out of school care, and they saw much better results. So I just love examples like this too, where your ads can actually be a great way to test messaging that's working, what's actually resonating, how are you positioning your organization and the work that you do, and is that resonating with people, especially as you're looking to get in front of younger members, right? Younger people in different industries, they have different expectations for what they expect to see online, what they expect out of their careers, what resources they're looking for. And so you want to make sure that you're staying up to date in terms of, are you actually resonating with the people that you're trying to reach and the people who are going to keep your organization alive for the next 30, 40 years, right? And this is a really great way to test that. You know, you can do this with email subject lines, things like that, see what's getting better open rates. And then ads are another really easy way to test just one part of the creative, right? So you can keep everything else the same and just test one word and make one word different, or test a different headline on each ad, see what performs better, invest more in the things that are driving more clicks and more engagement. All right, so we'll get into the question you had about Lauren, the question you had about existing audience members. So your best prospects are people who already know you. So whether this is lapsed members, current members, past event attendees, upcoming event registrants, website visitors, right? These are the people who are warmest, they're the most engaged. And so you want to focus a lot of your attention on these people because they're just your most loyal audience members. And so CRM retargeting is this is also known as email mapping in Feathr. So if there are any Feathr users in the audience, this is what we call email mapping in Feathr. So CRM retargeting allows you to serve ads, these display ads, to people based on their email address. So even though it's called email mapping, no emails are sent as part of this campaign. This is an ad campaign type, but you're using email lists to serve ads. So basically, the email is serving as a unique identifier. We connect it with a cookie, and we're able to serve ads on people's devices, on their laptops, on their mobile devices, because you have their email in a list somewhere. And so, NMSDC, this is the National Minority Supplier Development Council, they have run this campaign type, and I'll show a few results in a second, but this is one of their ads where they were getting in front of people who had been to events before. And they were trying to get them to come to this event in Miami, right? And so this is another ad from them. So just early bird registration, register today. So just kind of getting in front of people with information about the event. And again, this is because they had their email address. So if you have, even if you have members, right, existing members who have not been to your website for a month or 2 months, you can't retarget them, right? And so you have to get in front of them in another way. You might be emailing them, that's great. But if you want to serve ads to them and they have not been to your website recently, email mapping, CRM retargeting is a great way to do that. You have their email, you can serve them ads based on that. And then ideally, they click on one of the ads, come back to your site, and then they're back in your first party audience and you can retarget them. So hopefully that answers your question, Lauren. And NMSDC, also another wonderful power user of Feathr, they were able to bring in 229,000 in ticket sales using digital advertising through Feathr. So this was for a conference that they were hosting as well. They brought in 189 registrations with just a 3.6 thousand ad spend. So this, so the VP of Marketing and Communication, Stefan at NMSDC, he said, I think sometimes you need quick little wins to get the bigger wins. And Feathr gives me the control to test things out, pick up small wins, and invest further. I love this. I talked to him a couple of years ago to create this case study, and I thought that this was actually really insightful. I think a lot of the time when it comes to getting the budget to invest in tools and justifying it, right, and proving the impact so you can continue getting that budget, sometimes it feels daunting to prove the impact. It's like, where do we start? How do we get a huge ROI figure that we can take back to the board or whatever that looks like, right? And so I think that what he said was really cool because he plays around a lot with small budgets, and he'll do a small retargeting campaign from one of the pages on his website, and he will serve really personalized ads to people who visited that page recently. And he gets great results, great conversion rates from that. And so being able to invest just a little bit into something and see a return, and then invest a little bit more and see the return, I think that's a great way to kind of dip your toe in something, especially if you're not that familiar with digital advertising and digital marketing. You are able to do this in these platforms because you can do a lot when it comes to digital ads with just a small budget and just kind of build on that over time. So I like his sort of perspective on that. And just testing, playing around with things, testing, creating new segments. Like if you have for years been dealing with a legacy CRM and you just have hundreds and thousands of email addresses and contact information and you don't really know what to do with it, a platform like Feathr can be a really great place to get started with creating those segments, because you're going to be splitting things up into, okay, who's visited my website recently? Who's visiting my membership page? Who's a lapsed member? How can I get back in front of them? So it kind of helps you think about your audience in new ways and not just this endless list of names that may or may not be engaged with you at this time. And then following up a lot. So this comes back to retargeting, which we talked about a few minutes ago. You want to make sure that you are always following up to the people who probably don't convert the first time that they visit your website, maybe not even the second or third time. Again, even members who are familiar with you might not renew just because they know you. You have to stay in front of people and convince them. And these are just some more ads from ASCRS, the organization that I brought up earlier on. And you can see just from here, so become a member. This is a more general ad. And then this one, the CTA, is complete registration. So this is obviously for people who did visit the registration page, the membership sign up page and left without signing up. And then another quick case study from ASCRS. This is the American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery. So they added 115 new members with just a $5K spend on ads. So that was pretty amazing. They brought in 52,000 in new membership dues. And Yeah, and again, I think this is a similar sentiment, this quote, from Karen. So when we hit 26 new members, I remember being super excited that we had that many because those were outreaches that we had set up to run. It was just happening. And I remember when I was talking to her, she was like, 26 was amazing. And now we've obviously, gone well beyond that. But even getting 26 and being able to point to exactly where they came from and how much budget we put into them and how effective those ads were, that was like groundbreaking for us. And so now we're obviously bringing in hundreds of members a year through this platform. But even just bringing in a couple dozen was like really, really new for us and being able to really point to what was working. So I think similar to what Stefan said before, where it's like testing little things, dipping your toe in, putting a little bit of money, getting those small results at first, and then building on that is key. All right. I know people are probably going to have to hop off before the top of the hour. I think that happens a lot. So, real quick, I'm going to get into this non dues revenue opportunity, but I want to launch a quick poll. One sec. I'm struggling again with this web browser version of Zoom. Okay. All right. So, if you would like to learn a little bit more about Feathr for your association. So if anything that we've talked about today feels like it might be helpful for your association, go ahead and drop a yes, and I will set you up with a more personalized walkthrough of what a lot of these campaigns can look like for your specific use cases, your specific audience. There's a lot you can do here. So go ahead. Oh, we've got lots of Feathr customers on here today. I hope this is helpful for you too. I know, a lot of the time you're already in there and getting stuff done and doing, a lot of this type of work, but hopefully you learned something new today anyway. So cool. All right, I'll leave that one open so you can keep dropping answers in. And then I'm going to keep going. But thanks to everyone. If you have to hop off, no worries. We are going to send the recording and the slide deck out tomorrow. So you can expect that in your email inbox if you do have to jump off and you don't get this whole last portion. But I'm going to dive into this non-dues sponsor revenue here. All right. Let's go ahead and skip this poll because we are running short on time. So what do sponsors actually pay you for? They are not just paying you out of the goodness of their hearts, right? Or just because they want to engage in the community. They are trying to get exposure, brand reputation, networking opportunities, right? The goal is the value for your sponsor is wider brand exposure. Associating with your organization gives them a better reputation, right? It adds that level of trust with your audience. They might get better networking opportunities if your community recognizes their name. And they want to engage with your community and see that your organization is the conduit for that. And so, yeah, community engagement, event presence. But all of these things have one common denominator, and this is really like the value that you offer sponsors, and this is your audience, right? Your unique audience. So monetization, which is we call it monetization in Feathr. So all of you Feathr users would recognize it that way. It's also called sponsored retargeting. So this is basically running sponsored digital display campaigns like the ones we've been talking about so far, running these through Feathr on behalf of your sponsors. So these are just a couple of examples. So you can run ads from your sponsors on these websites where your audience is browsing, right? You can do people who visited your membership page only. If you want to serve your sponsors ads to those people, you can segment it that way. You can do an email list, right? If you just had an event and your sponsor, maybe they had their name on the napkins or they did a keynote speech, but now they want to keep getting in front of attendees after that. You can give them access to your audience. You can serve ads to your audience on their behalf. You can do, anyone who's visited your website, you can serve them ads. So I'll get into how exactly this works, but why is this a must-have for associations? So it's scalable. You can offer this to multiple sponsors at once. You're not limited in terms of space like you are with banner ads on your own homepage, right? If the sponsorship involves a banner ad on your homepage, you can't offer that to 15 sponsors. You might be able to offer it to 15 sponsors over the course of the year, right? But you can only fit so many sponsored ads on a given page. And a lot of them might want to really be getting in front of people before a big event that you have, and you can't prioritize everybody. So this is a great way to really scale that and be able to say to all of your sponsors, if you want, hey, I can put your ads and your message and your product your service, whatever it is, directly in front of my audience members where they're already spending time online. So it's not going to interrupt their journey. It doesn't require them to come to your website or the sponsor's website. It doesn't require anything on their end. You are serving the ads to them while they're browsing, and the goal is to get them to click through to whatever landing page the sponsor on their website wants them to land on. You can repeat campaigns anytime. This is something you can do around events. You can do it year round. So there's a lot of flexibility there in terms of how often you can do this, how much you can offer, and it helps you maintain reachability. And another cool part about this type of campaign is that your audience is not going to tie your association to the ads. It's really cool. It's like you are the middleman, but the audience member doesn't know that because you're serving the ads. If you do it in Feathr, you're basically running a retargeting campaign, just like you would for your own events. You're trying to get in front of people and promote things, just like you would do for your own products, services, resources. You're doing that for your sponsors directly to your audience members. So you are the middleman, but that part is invisible. So those people are just seeing ads for these products and services, which hopefully are relevant to them, right? That would be why that sponsor wants to get in front of your audience in particular. But it's just cool because your audience is not going to sort of see your name in the mix. They're not going to associate you with it and feel like you're bombarding them or something, right? I'm seeing ads for this association's event, and I'm also seeing that they're trying to promote this organization to me and this business or whatever. Like that part isn't there. And so it's really cool. They'll see your ads for your events, your courses, your membership efforts, and then they will also see ads from these other businesses that they may or may not engage with. And these campaigns, these monetization campaigns are very trackable. So you can basically track anything that you want to and share this with the sponsor. So it's this direct data, right? Really tracking everything, views, clicks, reach, and then form submissions. So you want to make sure that you can provide that level of visibility into the campaign to the sponsor. It's going to build trust. It's going to show them results and show them the return on their investment and get them to continue to invest in you over time. It's flexible. So this is in the sense that you kind of make it what you want it to be based on what your sponsors have come to expect from you, how much money you're trying to make in this non-dues revenue. So this is basically like a really sort of open-ended potential stream of revenue for you that you can define based on what you think is best for organization. And if you haven't done this yet, a lot of the time you start with one and you kind of build on that. So I'm not saying jump all in and just offer this to everybody. I think it's starting slow is the key here, but you can make it what you want and adjust. So you choose how you want to package everything and how you want to promote that. You choose the pricing. We see a lot of the time we see like 4x or 5x of the spend that you have on your end. So if you're using Feathr, for example, typically you pay the media spend, right? What it takes to actually serve the ads, and then you charge the sponsor 5x or 6x that, and you're bringing in a lot of revenue for your organization. And you choose the partners. So you could offer this to only specific partners as like a platinum deal or something like that. You can sort of make it in tiers, right? You can offer a certain number of impressions at a certain price. And then for more impressions, it's more money. You can kind of add this onto existing sponsorships. There's a ton that you can do here to just make it work with what you're already doing, but add on that sort of digital modern value that sponsors are coming to expect from you. And then just some more benefits. So like I said, you can add it on to existing sponsorship opportunities. This just helps you build stronger relationships. You're offering something that, businesses need from you, and your audience, again, is just so valuable to them. They're doing everything that they're doing to get in front of them in other ways. So getting in front of them in this way is going to be just kind of the icing on top. And then it helps bring sponsors into the digital marketing space. So, they might not be doing this kind of thing with any other organization. So you could be the first to kind of say, hey, you need to be serving your ads to my audience online. I can help you do that. You need to be serving ads in general. So depending on who you're working with, if it's a big corporate sponsor, they probably are used to doing this kind of thing, but it really just depends on who you're working with. And then, yeah, it helps you earn that non-dues revenue that everyone's trying to get, obviously. And then this is just a quick example of what a media kit can look like. So sort of your sales pitch and how you write that out to make it clear what the offering is to sponsors. So this is from ASAE, which hopefully most of you recognize. So this is another Feathr user and partner. And they've been really successful using monetization over the years. And this is just part of the way that they pitch. And as they've gotten more comfortable with managing monetization and the different campaigns they're running for sponsors, they've added things on like geofencing. So we talked earlier about geofencing, right? Serving ads based on people being in a physical location. You can do this for your sponsors, right? So any of the ad campaigns that you can run for yourself, so all of these retargeting campaigns, geofencing campaigns, you can do that on behalf of sponsors as well to really get them in front of specific audiences. All right, how to get started. So again, I'll be sending this out so you can take a closer look at these slides if you find it helpful, but these are just some examples of what a package can look like if you split it by silver, gold, platinum, that kind of thing. You can switch up, how many impressions do I want to offer? What's the duration? You price it accordingly. This is just another example of what that can look like. And then finding your sponsors. So this could look like previous sponsors, organizational partners, exhibitors, people who are coming to your event, giving keynotes, right? Active business members. So if you actually have members of your association who are businesses who want to get in front of other members of your association with their offering, you can offer this to them as well. And then identifying the right audience. So we kind of talked about this, but you can serve ads to your whole website, right? Anyone who's visited your website, you can target specific groups like event attendees or those higher intent audiences who've done specific actions on your website. Maybe they've visited a specific page a bunch of times, or they've simply visited a specific page that you consider to be high intent. And start small. Above all, make sure that you are starting with trusted partners and past partners. Don't go out there and pitch this to a bunch of new people, if you don't kind of have a foundation. So I think there's a lot of testing to be done. You can offer exclusive access at first, right? So just pick some partners that you want to give access to, and then sort of try this out and learn as you go. And then as you test results and see what works, you can add this onto existing sponsorship options and really make it work for you and roll it out to as many partners as you want. If you are already a Feathr user and you would like some help with monetization, whether you're already doing it and you need some support, or you haven't tried it yet, but you're interested in doing this, you can reach out to your account manager if you need help with the actual pitch, the sales part of it, actually pitching sponsors on this idea. If you need help with executing the campaigns, you can ask about campaign management services. But actually drop a yes in the chat if you are a customer and you would like some help around monetization, whether you're already doing it or not. Please drop a yes. And then, for those of you for customers and non-customers alike, just for your awareness, we do offer campaign management services around monetization to help make it easier. So this includes media kits. We can help you build that out, sort of build out your pitch, help you sell it, and help you actually fulfill those campaigns, report back to the sponsors, and you'll have somebody who's dedicated to making sure things are running properly, help you strategize, and make sure everything is working in the best way for you and for your sponsors. Okay, thanks for staying 3 minutes late with me. I really appreciate everyone bearing with me at the beginning there. I will not have tech issues on the next one. And I'm going to be hosting an association-specific webinar like this one every month. So hopefully see you on the next one. I'm going to send out the recording and the deck. And if you have any ideas for webinar topics that you would be interested in hearing me cover, go ahead and respond to the email with those ideas. I'd love to kind of hear from you all who are in the weeds and really doing the work. Like what are you dealing with? What are some barriers you're dealing with? What are some of the digital campaign, digital marketing things that you feel like you want to get started with, but don't know where to begin. So anyway, okay. Okay, Glenn, will do. Alrighty. Thank you everyone for joining. Actually, you know what? Let me just double check on the questions. I think there were a couple. Okay. Marcella, I'm not sure when that question was asked about the names of the campaigns. Maybe it got answered, but if not, let me know if you still need an answer to that. And then, okay, so I saw this one from Lauren. Can you track leads from external ads, say an ad in an e-newsletter that you paid for through a third party, and see engagement or follow someone from that ad to your site through to conversion, making this a one-stop shop? Yep. I love the way you worded that question. That's like, are you in marketing? Very clearly worded. So yes, you can do this through something that we call tracked links. This is basically using a tracking link or a custom URL, right? And so you can do this in Feathr, and you basically just generate a custom URL that you add on to the URL that you are sending people to. So if you are doing an ad in an e-newsletter, for example, you can create a custom URL for that ad. And so anyone who clicks on that e-newsletter ad and gets to your website, you will know from the tracking and from the analytics there that they got there from that e-newsletter. Same with print advertising, right? If you have a mailer that you send out or flyers that you send out in the mail, things like that, you can use a QR code, right, for people to scan. And the URL on the QR code can be a tracked link so that you can see, okay, I know that the people who got to my membership page from this URL came from that specific print piece. So we know what's working and what's not. So yes, it can be a one-stop shop for digital tracking and conversions. That is our goal. So yeah, cool. Alrighty. I will see you all on the next one, hopefully. And thanks again for joining. Bye.